What's up, guys? It's John, and I wanted to talk wrestling for a minute because we got Wrestlemania coming up this obviously weekend, and most books do have Wrestlemania now to the point where I have seen WWE doing DraftKings commercials and such. So I know a lot of people say they don't get it, but I imagine a good bit of people do. And I'll still put out tonight on the membership sites. I'm going to put all our picks for tomorrow as far as the Final Four, NBA, all that. And tonight we're doing pretty good. We had a horrible day yesterday, so hoping to get that back. But anyway, I figured I'd go into wrestling for the people that get Dave Meltzer off the screen. That Kurt Angle's better. Anyway, for anyone that wanted the WrestleMania predictions, I have some pretty precise ones too. For if you're just gonna be watching it, I'll say I don't want to say spoilers, but I do feel like on a couple of these matches, once I, at least in my opinion, lay out why they have to go a certain way, then I think a lot of people would tend to agree. So it's not like a spoiler, obviously, but I think with a couple of these, they are. Anyway, the first, we have the tag team match between, they kind of have this reversed. Usually this would be my last pick, but anyway, it's pretty obvious on this one. Rock and Reigns have to win. There's just no way you're going to have, sure, you could have Cody and Seth win and then pull a deal where they find a way to still get people involved. But they've basically booked this as a complete slugfest where there's going to be 10 people involved, and if Cody and Seth win, then it's a clean match, which really nobody wants. And if Roman and Rock win, it's going to be just complete chaos. That's why it's the odds you're getting. So I don't know if we're going to get a. I think we might possibly get a run in on Saturday night. I'm going to give my prediction on the run-ins. A lot of people giving predictions on who might return. You got Triple H being floated around, Cena. People are floating around, the Takers in Philly. Basically, all the legends are going to be in Philly wherever WrestleMania is. But anyway, I think we might get a run in on night one, and that would also kind of plant some seeds for night two. But at the end of the day, I think Roman and Rock are going to take it. Here, I think Bayley wins. I just don't think Io Sky's a draw as a champion. And I also think they want to give Bayley some flowers. For about a year, she's just been putting herself last and making sure everyone goes over. So it's a big moment for her. And there's some belts that change hands. Obviously, they try and mix it up. But I think Bayley's going to win. And for minus 300, you're getting not bad odds, honestly. For 100 to win $30, it sounds pretty low. But in my opinion, it's also, again, another pretty obvious one. Now, this one's not so obvious. I got Rhea winning, though. I think Becky makes some sense, but at the same time, this would really establish Rhea, especially because I don't think the rest of the people in the group are going to do that well. So, I think it just establishes, again, her as the main reason that the group is successful. She'll probably wind up turning on the group, or maybe they'll turn on her, I don't know. She's kind of giving off phase turn vibes, but yeah, I like Rhea to win. That's why wrestling's unfortunate. It doesn't usually let you parlay them. To parlay this and the Rock and Roman and like another obvious one, you're getting almost even odds if you do it right. But the problem is they don't let you do that for that reason. So anyway, yeah, I got Rhea winning. United States Championship, I got Logan Paul winning and retaining, and I think I have the result here. They've been kind of teasing it with miscues with Randy and KO. Logan Paul's whole thing's the brass knuckles, right? So I already feel like I see the finish. I feel like he's going to grab the brass knuckles. Owens or Orton. Probably Orton, because I think Owens is a funnier guy taking the punch. Orton wrestles them off Paul. Goes to hit him with them. He ducks. Bam. Knocks out Owens with the brass knuckles. And then, Paul rolls up Randy or does, maybe hits him with the sucker. And pins him or just throws him out of the ring and pins Kevin Owens. But I think the brass knuckles, one of the guys accidentally hitting the other. Kind of Three Stooge style is what we're going to see, and it just makes perfect sense. All of his matches have involved these brass knuckles. Now you got three guys. It's a perfect way for him to win like a tool. He keeps calling them dumb, so now he can come out and say, oh, that dumb idiot knocked out the other one. I feel like they're definitely setting that angle up. So for minus 300, loving those odds for Logan Paul to retain. LA Knight versus AJ. Now this one's an interesting one because I have to always factor in value when I'm factoring in uh, what's probable too. So like even though LA Knight is more likely because it's his first WrestleMania, AJ Styles, I believe it was his first WrestleMania, and he had a big feud with Jericho, and I thought he was going to lose his first time, and I think he beat Jericho in his first WrestleMania. Maybe it was reversed, I don't know, but I could see both guys win. I think just because they haven't done much with LA Knight, they want to at least give him a victory here. So even though it's minus 600, and the value is there for AJ, I just think LA Knight's going to take this one. I think it makes sense, especially because I have a couple bad people winning. Technically, Rhea's a heel, Rock and Roman are heels, Logan's a heel, so Bailey's the only face I have really winning, and then LA Knight. And for the tag team match, you have Dom Mysterio and Santos versus Rey and Dragon Lee. Now, these odds probably changed because Dragon Lee was taken out for a guy who just returned, Andrade. He's married to Charlotte Flair. I just think Rey wins, and I at first I liked Dominic to win because I thought, okay, I thought last year he should have won. I mean, how else better way to get him over as a heel than to have him beat Rey at WrestleMania? But it didn't happen. Rey Mysterio won last year, and I think this would get him the comeuppance, whatever you want to call it. So Dominic and I had them winning, but the fact that Rey has Andrade, who they definitely want to put over, just like Jade Cargill, I don't think they're going to lose. So I have Rey Mysterio, and it's actually Andrade beating Dominic and Santos. Whenever they update the odds, I checked my book, they hadn't updated it yet, but I think Rey and Andrade are going to win that one. Bianca, Jade, Naomi, I mean, there's a reason they're minus 2,000. There's no way Jade loses her first match back. Like, the only way it would make a monicum of sense is if she returned and, like, just destroyed Naomi and Bianca, so she turned on them and just, looked like a complete menacing heel. I don't think that's what they have planned for her. It would work. It'd be a nice swerve, but I also think the odds are this way for a reason. They're going to have her come out win, just traditional, all smiles win. So I have that. We got Cody and Roman. Let's just skip that for logistical purposes. I'll get to that at the end because, again, I think that's the one most people are tied on. And honestly, it's interesting because you see the odds have moved a lot. Cody was like minus 400. I think just because The Rock might be here to stay is why things moved. Drew versus Seth. I got Drew winning this one. I just feel like unless they're trying to bury the character, it doesn't make any sense. Like, Seth's going to be involved in the main event, so like having him there without the belt. The Rock kept telling him he's going to make the belt disappear, which is a weird thing to say. He didn't say, I'm going to make sure you lose. So it kind of made me think Seth might win and The Rock's going to mess with him, but at the end of the day, we got a Clash at the Castle, whatever it is. It's a UK-based event, and it's coming up pretty soon, like in 2 months. I think Drew has to be champion going in. Everyone's admitting he's on the best run of his life, so it just doesn't make sense for him not to win, especially if you're going to have Cody, who you probably know, but I'm going to go into in a second. You're not going to have both these guys, so I just don't think you're going to have Seth and Cody win. So I got Drew McIntyre winning. Intercontinental Championship match. This one's like 50-50. It's moved. Sammy was plus 110, and it keeps kind of moving, which is interesting. And if Sammy wins, it does not bode well for Cody, I'll tell you that. Because I feel like if he wins, that's the reason. Like, because one, if people are just expecting if Gunther loses his belt, he's going to go right into a feud with Cody. So if he loses his belt, then everyone's going to, quote, no, Cody's going to win. And it's going to be an even bigger swerve. So, yeah, if you have Sammy winning, the odds are Cody probably doesn't win. It is weird to see these close of odds, but I think Sammy already got his payoff moment with that's tag team match, and I think they want to keep the mid card strong for a guy like Braun Breaker. Don't forget, the original plan was Brock Lesnar versus Gunther, and obviously Brock was not going to win and take the IC belt off him. So whoever is fighting him is basically a fill-in. So I'd say for odds, since we know Gunther was going to win originally, nothing really would change my mind as far as why he shouldn't win. Again, even if they want him to feud with Cody, they can do that. It doesn't have to be immediate. They can find ways to have it happen. So, yeah, I think I think he's going to retain Gunther, and he's now getting plus odds, which is good. But like I said, the biggest reason I like him is because I think he's going to keep that belt for a bit because it keeps a reign going. If the main event one, the belt changes, which I think there's a better than good chance it does. And then also, like I said, Sammy wasn't even supposed to be the guy. It was supposed to be Brock. So since they originally had Gunther winning, I'm going to stick with that and say he wins. And then this unified tag team winner, again, this is an interesting one because you always want like that feel good moment on the wrestling show, and that would be Cody if he were to win. But again, if he doesn't, then the Awesome Truth would be the feel good moment. But again, that's not one that people are going to care that much about. They're going to like it, but it's WWE knows it's going to be immediately forgotten if they win and then Cody loses. Like, it's not going to help them at all. That being said, I still think they're going to win. You can have more than one feel good moment. Actually, most WrestleMania, more good guys win than bad guys, but they've been mixing that up as of late. But just because R-Truth is so, I think, undervalued and appreciated, to give him a legitimate run where he's not like a joke, and he's still going to be funny and do his, truth things. But I think at the end of the day, they're going to have him and Miz win here. It's kind of big for both of them. So again, at plus odds, I love it. I think the Awesome Truth win this match. And it's probably going to start off the night too, probably, for, again, a nice little feel-good night before we might have some, again, Gunther winning and a few other letdowns for some fans. Singles, we got Jay versus Jimmy. I actually got Jimmy winning. I think that everyone's, again, assuming Jay's going to win. But again, Jay's been established. He's been established as a top guy. And Jimmy's still just kind of like this lackey in a group. So I think this would establish Jimmy. And again, we could get a bloodline run in. So these matches are going to all tie into each other, I feel like. I think even in Seth's match, obviously there's that chance Damien cashes in or tries to. But even in Seth's match, you have the possibility of a bloodline run in, and then he, for Drew McIntyre, and then he could return the favor later in the night. So, yeah, I think Jimmy's going to win here. Then we got this one. This might be before the pay-per-view. I have no interest in this one, but I think Lashley and the Street Profits are going to win. Unless they're really trying to put over Karrion Kross, which they've tried and they just couldn't. I think Lashley makes sense here. They've been getting their asses kicked by this group for like a month or two now. And the group, just in my opinion, isn't over, and they're not going to get over Karrion Kross. Whereas Lashley's a solid guy that you don't want to bury. So I got him in the Profits. He could turn on them. They could turn on him, sure. But I wouldn't go out of my way to bet on this one anyway. But Lashley and Profits, I got them winning. So anyway, we got our main event now. And if it's not obvious, I'm going with Cody Rhodes. And I really thought about going with Roman, especially as the lines moved. And now, again, it's like last year. People knew Cody was going to win. And now this year, it's like, oh, well, now we definitely know he's going to win. They won't do him like that 2 years in a row. And with the long-term storytelling and the swerving, I would not put it past WWE at all. Roman Reigns winning wouldn't surprise me, I can tell you that. Like, I genuinely am more tossed on this match than a lot of others. I would recommend putting money on this match less than a lot of the others. Like I said, Gunther, I would much prefer to put money on. But anyway, I think he wins. I think they've done a great job of teasing the possibility of him losing. But at the end of the day, I think Roman is going to take a hiatus. Last year they said that he didn't, and he kind of did, but I think he's going to be taking more of a permanent hiatus and maybe doing some Hollywood stuff. I'm not sure. I just saw something about The Rock might be blackballed from Hollywood because he won't endorse Biden. I'm not sure how true that is, but maybe they're here to stay for a bit. But again, I still think that makes more sense with Cody winning. You're not going to get Rock Roman, which is what they want to get eventually, with one of them being a supervillain. Now, that being said, I don't think Rock's turning on Roman. You could say like they've been acting out very well, but I mean, the way he's beating down Cody and stuff, it just wouldn't make sense. Like, there's times in the past they've had two wrestlers work together to seem like they're on, they have at odds with each other, but not to the point where they're just beating them with an inch of their life with a weightlifting belt, stuff like that. I think there's eventually going to be a turn, but I don't see it happening at WrestleMania. I think, if anything, if Cody beats Roman, then The Rock might deem him unfit and then beat him up, and then maybe you get Rock Roman, something like that, or maybe The Rock goes after Cody for the belt, which is something that's been teased. So I got Cody winning now. The biggest reason I think he's going to win, and maybe it's just some bias, it's my theory, and I had the theory before it was being teased. Now it's being heavily rumored, which I don't like. I like it more when nobody's talking about it, because then I feel like they're definitely going to pull the trigger. But with CM Punk, we predicted he'd come back, and at the time, a lot of people thought he wouldn't, and he did. So you never know. But there were way more people talking about CM Punk returning than this. So I feel like if they pull the trigger on that, they will on this. And then that's the glass shattering. I just think you have to do it. And then by that, I mean Stone Cold returning. And if that happens, it would be very anticlimactic for him to return, level the playing field, whatever, and then Cody loses. And then Austin awkwardly leaves. I just don't see how it would work. Austin would never return for, a long, stretched out segment or angle because he said, a million times he doesn't want the fans to remember him as, an old geezer. And honestly, he looks like a guy who could still go. But week to week, coming out there, it's still a difference. Same with The Rock, even though he looks like a monster, they don't have the cardio that they did in their prime. But for a one-off, Austin would definitely return. And I think it's going to happen. I think they've been teasing it. And the biggest reason I think it's going to happen is they clearly purposely have a numbers disadvantage for Cody. So you have someone to account for everybody but I would say two guys. Because you got Cody and Roman, but then you got Jimmy. So Jay's going to even the playing field there. Then you're going to have Rock. And Seth is really playing that level the playing field with The Rock. But I think he's really going to wind up leveling the playing field with Solo, which leaves The Rock unattended for, and probably Drew McIntyre, who's going to get involved, and possibly Damien Priest. So there's up to three guys disadvantaged, which is why people keep saying it's going to be Cena and Austin. It could be. Triple H, I think he's kind of put himself in this storyline. You have Cody's brother, so I don't know who all's going to return. I just think it needs to cap off with the glass shattering. If they really want to, really tell a story, because The Rock's first WrestleMania main event was against Stone Cold 25 years ago in Philly. He thanks him so much for, making his career and everything he did for him. He did a whole Instagram video a year ago about how much Austin means to him. And it just makes sense. The guy is still number one today in merchandise sales. So the WWE is very aware of how popular Austin is. They keep saying it's going to be the biggest WrestleMania ever. I feel like anything but that glass shattering would be a letdown. As great as Cody's brother would be, as great as Cena would be. And again, we might get more than one guy. I think Cena might get involved. And I think if there are other guys like Taker or whatever, they'll probably be involved in other segments. But again, anything can happen. You could have turns. You could have Triple H come out, turn on Cody. There's so many things that could happen. And that would kind of make some sense if you think about it. But I think again, if that glass shatters, which I think it will, then I think that solidifies Cody's victory. So I'm going with Cody to win. I think they understand. If they don't pull the trigger now, there's nobody ready unless they want to go another year or two with Roman. There's just nobody even close to ready that could be the next guy up that anybody would believe. So they would have such a dry stretch of time with Roman just, not fighting anyone, which they've done before. But again, nobody even close to ready for people to believe. As far as Priest, I have a theory he's going to cash in on night one. So the way because I don't even know how the rules would work, but I believe since it would be a tag team match, while Seth and Cody are fighting Roman and Rock, Priest cashes in. So Seth would then have a second simultaneous match where he's defending his championship. And while he's fighting Priest, Cody's basically 1-on-2. Now, I know it's kind of goofy, but I feel like that makes some sense. Night 2 would be more interesting because then Priest could cash in and he could technically cash in on either guy. They'd both be in the ring. Or at least, Roman would be in the ring. Seth would be right outside the ring. That assuming... Or yeah, the tag match is where he could cash in on both. A lot of people think he's going to cash in on Seth's singles match, which I actually don't think he will. He might try, but it just doesn't make sense in my opinion. I have Drew winning, and I don't think Priest is going to just take the belt off him. But like I said, that's why I think the tag team match might make more sense because it'd be before Seth theoretically loses the belt, and you'd have Roman and Seth involved, so they could tease the whole thing like, oh, who's Priest gonna cash in on or something like that. And then I think it'd be very funny if he just cashed in and Seth had to have a separate match while Cody's doing his thing. So that's my pretty specific prediction. Priest cashes in at the end of night one during the tag match. Unsuccessfully, of course, because they're not going to have him win right before the next night when Seth fights Drew. But cashes in and it screws up the tag match for Cody and Seth. So yeah, those are all my predictions for Mania. I think a lot of them are going to happen exactly how I think. And then some I'm sure I'm going to be swerved on. But I've tried to account for the lines and possible turns. And most importantly, after WrestleMania, what makes the most sense. And last year you can argue Roman winning made more sense. This year, I just don't think it does. Unless they're just seeing it differently than most of the fans. A lot of the fans are saying that even with The Rock returning, I mean, that's what it took for the bloodline not to be stale. So are they really going to rely on The Rock's, draw power for the next year? They might. With the move to Netflix, they might want to keep it up. I don't think so. I think it's going to be Cody. So yeah, let me know what you think. Like I said, wrestling these days is harder to predict than the NFL, it seems, and some of these other sports, and I think it's not on accident. I think WWE just does a better job of suspending disbelief, whereas the NFL puts it right in your face and tells you about it a million times. So yeah, I think Austin comes back. That's basically the biggest prediction that I think most people are hoping for, and I think Cody wins. And yeah, the biggest upset I could see is, like I said, I think Jimmy has good upset value here. Most people are just assuming he won't win. But again, you can't have all good guys win. As far as the bloodline, they can't all lose, So I think it would make sense that Jimmy gets the win. They look strong, and then Jay gets the comeuppance when he interferes to stop Jimmy on night two when Cody fights Roman. So let me know what you think. I'm curious. I just wanted to put this out because I'm obviously a big wrestling fan, and I know a few people were asking. So take care and happy earnings.